I'm joined now by singer-songwriter Jana DeBusk. Jana, thank you so much for being here. I am really excited because not only do I love your music, but we just found out we have like this weird connection from way back when. Anyway, nobody cares about that, but I do because it's cool. Tell me when you first recognized a real love of music.
I remember watching Les Mis when I was like 5, and I was mesmerized, and I said, that's what I want to do. Another time we were on a family vacation in Tennessee, I think, and there was a singer on a piano in a bar, and I said, Mom, I'm going to be a singer in a bar one day. And she said, please don't. And then I did. And I love it. So I went to a performing arts institute in the summers in Pennsylvania. So I would go train, basically. It was kind of like an Interlochen feel.
Yeah.
But in Pennsylvania, because that's where my dad was working. And so I got my bachelor's of fine arts from Western in musical theater, and then I moved to New York and stayed there for 6 years and did cabarets and off-Broadway and singer at Ellen Stardust Diner, which is like this singing wait staff in Times Square.
Yeah.
I did all the things. I was a music teacher, and within that I started traveling, and then I got into songwriting and rock music.
So, okay, that's interesting because going from musical theater, did you always kind of have a feeling that there was a different sound you wanted to pursue? At what point did that happen?
Yeah, I was definitely, I mean, I started, like I said, with this kind of classical Les Mis, but I was drawn to the Belter.
Yeah.
And then once I figured out what rock musicals were, I was drawn to the rock musicals because they're just so full of passion. And they have a lot of, you know, obviously blues influences.
Right.
And so, I don't know, I just kind of felt that I was never going to be the ingenue in Brigadoon,
Right.
but I could be that rock singer in the Wild Party.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are in New York, you're doing your thing, and then you decide to get your master's?
Actually, yeah, I decided to travel first.
Okay.
So I would go by myself to a different country every year, and that inspired a bunch of songwriting. And so I did Europe a couple times, and then I did South America. And my last trip like this was in my late 20s, and I went to Colombia, and I decided to just stay there. So I sold all my stuff in New York, and I moved to Colombia. And from there, I started singing jazz and Latin jazz, like Colombian folk music mixed with jazz.
And what kind of process, can you walk me through that process? Because I think a lot of people don't really understand that a lot goes into tailoring your sound to fit a certain genre. Did you take steps specifically toward that?
I think that I struggled with that a lot at the beginning, especially. So I took, when I started my master's study, I was taking private voice lessons every week, and I had this issue of wanting to sound jazzy, and that puts like this smooth cover on everything in my mind.
Right.
And then I found out that jazz is not smooth for me.
Yeah.
It's not, like, I am not smooth.
Yeah.
So my jazz should not be smooth.
Yeah.
So, so I felt a little bit more comfortable bringing in this like messy, rocky edge to the music that I loved. And so I sing with jazz bands, and then I also sing with cover bands, and I sing my own music, which is more rock feel, yeah. And I'm sort of incorporating the looper a little bit, bit by bit, because I love the looper pedal.
Yeah.
It allows me to improvise a little bit, and I don't know, it's fun.
What do you think is the most important lesson you could impart to a young musician?
I think that a lot of my students, especially when I was teaching at Purdue, really struggled with, first of all, confidence, just building confidence. So singing is a very vulnerable act. It's very open, and it's something that only you have and only you can control. And so I think that my biggest advice would be to just sit in your body and sit in your sound and listen to what's happening. Listen to what's happening and let it come out.
What is the best part of your job, I would say, as a performer?
Connecting with the audience. Yeah, being able to tell a story that's very intimate to me, perhaps, but having that story resonate with hopefully lots of people in the audience, and having them connect to it in a way that's completely different than perhaps how I wrote it, but it still does the job. It still makes you feel something, makes you excited, makes you connect.
Yeah. How do you describe your style, your means of communication?
Oh, varied. No, I would say that I try to write music that's very authentic, and sometimes it may not be the most complicated version of what I could do, but it's the most honest to what I am. So it's my personal stories, it's my hopefully authentic voice coming through to connect with the audience.
Well, I think we are going to be lucky enough to get to hear some of that authenticity. So thank you so much for sitting down with me.
You.
Thank you for the gift of music, and I hope to speak again soon.
Thanks a lot.
I'm a sinner, baby, I'm a bad girl with a bad name. But when you're raised with God and the devil, who you gonna blame? Oh, I'm a sinner, baby, I'm a bad girl with a bad name. But when the last day comes, what you gonna choose? The cold blood or the flame? 'Cause I'm never coming back. Forgive me, mother, while I watch your surface crack. Forgive me, mother, while I paint my town the darkest shade of black. Forgive me, mother, for the good deeds that I lack. 'Cause I'm a sinner, baby, I'm a bad girl with a bad name. With brother, do you feel